Welcome to another very special edition of AFCON Tonight, live here on Joy Prime. And, well, we waited for them to see what they have to offer at the African Cup of Nations tournament. And they did deliver, talking about the Atlas Lions of Morocco. 3-0. They defeated Tanzania earlier today to wrap up, DR Congo and Zambia's game, pretty much nearing 1-1 at the time we're coming to the studio. So Group F action almost wrapping up and completely summarizing the first round of fixtures in the African Cup of Nations tournament. And today we're going to take a look at that. But the big one is tomorrow, Ghana versus Egypt. That's the big one tomorrow, 8 p.m. And we are all waiting to see how the Black Stars will fare. Earlier today, Chris Hughton did face the media, and he's been speaking about their readiness ahead of the game. Likewise, Jordan Ayew, with some very interesting soundbite. They didn't go to Ivory Coast for a visit. They went there to do well, and they'll be hoping to do exactly that in the game against Egypt tomorrow. Today is a full house. It's a really big full house. The swag journalist of the year is in the building, and we have to. The swag journalist of the year is in the building. Gary Al Smith, it was at FIFA Awards. Is here. What's your welcome? Let me see, what's your But big congratulations to you, though. Big congratulations to you.
Thank you very much.
From all of us, big congratulations to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good to have you. Good to have you here. And, well, Messi is...
Still feeling the ice.
Yeah,
bro, I couldn't wait to come to Ghana, man. Charlie.
Incredibly cold.
The cold is not a joke. Yeah, man.
Man,
that's good to be back.
Yeah, it's good to
be back. And the heat is good.
Yeah,
I don't like the cold.
Yeah, you added the traffic to it too. The traffic,
the traffic is okay. We'll take it. Home is home.
Yeah, home is home. Home sweet home. Well, Sicho is also here. And, of course. Well, Sicho, you were looking forward to the game, Morocco versus Tanzania game. I'm sure they delivered for you. They really did deliver for you. We'll talk about that pretty shortly. Daniel is here. And you might be wondering why he is standing by the touchscreen already, because he's got some really interesting numbers to share with you ahead of the game between Ghana and Egypt. All right? So you want to stay with us here. But first of all, though, we're going to take a look at that action between Morocco and Tanzania. 3-0 it ended. We've got highlights of that game for you.
Hibit Maum Kami and Yaya of Yanga. As we are underway, Miroshi as well. Ziyech! He can't handle it, it's an opening goal.
Incredible technical ability and even better technique from Ziyech. He knew that if he thumps it as hard as possible, it's always on coming.
Referee brandishes another yellow, and it's a second one for Miroshi. And they're down to 10 men. You could see this coming because there were so many yellow cards that the referee was flashing. Play that physical a game, and another of these dangerous scything challenges, Amanda.
Yep, he tried to really pull out of the tackle, but it was already too late.
Ziyech, lovely exchange once again. Unahi!
Moroccans seeing those triangles, Hakimi getting involved, Unahi, that's the flair, that's the finesse.
They'll get it back again. Unahi, the scorer. And Rafa came in,
He was onside. Unahi with a great pass to Hakimi. Just bending it on. It was just too quick maybe for the linesman to witness as well, but a great move from the Moroccans.
And it has been given. What a strange run of events, because the substitutions came. Amrabat. And Gasuni. Let's see what they can do from here. Oh, he spills it too. Does well, Ganous. Stopped by Manula.
Contest, Steve, but of course
Hibit Maum Kami and Yaya of Yanga.
Well, it's fair to describe that Moroccan side as a golden generation. The last time they won it was in 1976. They've won the title once. And they'll be hoping to get the second this year. And no wonder they were even described as title favorite. Let me just get the thoughts of the guys here of that game. Of course, that game between DR Congo and Zambia ended 1-1. So, yeah, almost shapes up the group to some interesting, turnouts over there. Gary, I mean, that was a good game for Morocco. And a lot of people were waiting for them.
Exactly. We're all waiting to see what they look like. I mean, most people knew that we were going to beat Tanzania, but the how was the end. Well, how they showed us that a lot of what we expected was not fluke. It's only Tanzania, yes. They are not your greatest of AFCON sides. But Morocco would definitely see, I mean, I was writing in my previews that they have a group that is not too difficult and not too easy. It's a perfect group for them. And in terms of a tune-up for the AFCON, they couldn't have asked for a better group because they have this one, and then they have, Congo and Zambia there. Different profiles of teams that can test them in different ways. We'll come to the DRC-Zambia game. But in those two oppositions, by the time they are done with the group, it will give them a proper readiness, assuming they go into the round of 16, into the way they should navigate things. But into this game itself, you see how they control things from the midfield.
Yeah.
Amrabat, Man United fans will be watching this game. Are like, is it that we are using him wrongly, or is the African football that he likes? But there are a couple of players like that because their star player, Azedine Unahi, like that as well, didn't have a good AFCON the last time. Even though many people singled him out as a potential star, it was at the World Cup that he broke out. Interestingly, at his club side, he's not having a good time. So we are seeing a certain profile of national team players in this AFCON and elsewhere who, when they put on the national team shirts, they become like a Samoan.
Yeah.
Like their club side, they'll become defined by their national team, and that's a different kind of thing. As for Ziyech, he had one of those poor games. El Nesri as well. He was very, very wasteful. He was very, very atypically wasteful. But yeah, Morocco, good value for their money, and it's exciting to see them go through the gears because we should expect them to do that in the next game.
Sicho.
Yeah, again, for Morocco, everybody was expecting to see what they would bring to the table. But I thought the first 45 minutes didn't really excite me because of the way Tanzania set up. Tanzania wasn't interested in opening up for Morocco to just have a field day.
Yeah.
Morocco also struggled at times to break them down. And if you saw the goal that they conceded, again, one thing that also didn't help Tanzania, but held Morocco, was that water break. Now, pay attention to how momentum is switching in games in this AFCON due to the water break. You could be on the high, but once there's that pause, it's massive respite for the team under pressure. And when Tanzania were just okay with the way, the temperature of the game, the tempo of the game, after the water break, Morocco just stepped it up a little bit. They got that free kick, and out of that free kick, they got the opener. So the first half from Morocco wasn't necessarily over the top. But it was in the second half that we saw the Morocco that had gone into the lead and were now almost as if some shackles were loosed from them, and they played with a lot of freedom and fluidity. And it was in that second half that I really enjoyed them and saw the quality they had in their side. And it's what you need for every tournament. You just they can't tell me they didn't feel the pressure of being, if you like, overwhelming favorites by many quarters. Now, once those shackles are broken, you have a feeling they're going to go and only get better because they've got the quality. And in the second half, we saw a Moroccan side that could carve Tanzania open. But this is Tanzania. They were a man down. So as Gary said, other games in this group could actually test other things about this team. But 3 goals, clean sheet, perfect start.
Perfect start. Well, in the other game between DR Congo and Zambia, not sure if they'll call it a perfect start because both sides would have been hoping to pick points from either side. Because if we go to face Morocco and maybe hoping you can pick some form from Tanzania, it just can enhance our chances of qualifying out of the group stage. But that other game ended 1-1. Of interest is one man Daniel actually loves, Avram Grant. You seem to have some good love for the man. You monitor the game. What did you make of it, though?
Look, it was yesterday at the end of the show, we spoke about the fact that this would be one of the most exciting games of the competition, and that's because of the way the two teams play. And we saw it in the first 30 minutes, we already had 2 goals. It could easily have ended 4-1 in favor of Congo. It could easily have ended 4-4. It was that sort of game. But I think the Congolese dominated. They should have won the game. They created decent enough opportunities to kill it off. once again, Cedric Bakambu failing to score his chances. He's a very good forward player. He knows how to get in positions. He's very good with the ball at his feet, technically gifted, can go past players, but the finishing has always been a problem. And this is a current generation where they don't have that recognized striker. In the past, they had Mbukani and the likes who could get that goal for them. This time around, and remember that when Mbukani was the main striker, Bakambu was usually on the bench.
Yeah.
And that wasn't because he wasn't a good player, but he didn't fit the needs of the team at the time. Now they have very good forward players. You look at the likes of Wisa and then Bakambu, but they don't have that pure finisher in there. And you can't help but think that this may go against them as the tournament progresses. But for Zambia, they will seriously need to sit up. It wasn't the sort of game we expected. Throughout the competition, the qualifiers, they've been a fantastic attacking unit. And that's why most people said this game will be very exciting. Congo lived up to the billing. Zambia didn't, but Zambia got the goal. And they've escaped with the result. This is tournament football. It is what the scoreline says at the end of 90 minutes that matters, and they've got their point.
I mean, Avram Grant, though, 2015 was a man who led Ghana to the final. Zambia have won the tournament heavily now. They're hoping that this man who took Ghana, and just look at the connections there. Yeah. Avram Grant having a history with Ghana, Hervé Renard having a history with Ghana, and they're possibly just hoping that they can leverage on that history and do something at this AFCON. What really didn't work out for Zambia, like Daniel was saying today?
Well, I'll add one. Hervé Renard was in the stands.
He was in the stands.
Ah, interesting. He was watching.
He was in the stands.
He was in his white shirt watching as well.
Yeah.
What didn't work for them, I think that DR Congo, first of all, did their homework, first of all. So down the channels, they killed Zambia there, absolutely. If you're a very lazy football or sports analyst, what you know about DRC is that they're going to have fast wingers.
Yeah.
They seem to be born with it. And I was telling myself while watching the game that, hang on, why don't they have fast sprinters? Because ever since I was a kid, DRC have had either fast forwards or midfielders or something like that. And we saw them, in abundance today. We talked about Yohan Wesa. You saw the first goal. The build-up was absolutely sweet. Yeah. Quick ball that exhibited the power of what they have if they had taken their chances. And as Danny said, they executed that move about 3 or 4 times, but they were wasteful most of the time. So what they will do typically is they get the ball, they start building from the back. Yeah. They have a quick triangle, get to about the center line. Somebody looks up, and the movements on that, it looks like they've done it many, many times, and so they are quite perfect with it. Somebody goes into the channels, and that's where they beat Arthur Masuaku. Arthur Masuaku is from DRC. He's one of the best. In fact, they have one of the best fullback pairings in Africa. Both know how to play free kicks very well, and both know how to switch play. So they switch play, they get to that side, and they are killing Zambia. Now, what they do is then they either cross the ball into the 18-yard box. They know that the Zambian keeper, and they clearly did their homework, they know that the Zambian keeper has problems with catching the ball first time. So they did that repeatedly. And repeatedly, the ball would either be cleared into a waiting second striker who would then either sky the ball or just waste it. So it was a very simple trick. And they got that, but I was doing some other stuff. But the times I saw it was about 5 different times. They were more clinical. Once you get the ball in the second striker position, a couple of players, they come in there. You either pass one, two, like Messi and Alba do all the time, pass, bring the ball, hit it again. And they have the sort of profile of players to do that. But they were not doing that. So I'll give DR Congo the credit for doing their homework well. Zambia also, for some reason, their midfield did not turn up today. I tweeted about Kelvin Kapumbu today, as the number 15. Usually he's very good. But again, I think DR Congo did their homework. That is where coaching comes in. You see, we'll come to the Black Star. That is where coaching comes in. Their coach, De Sabre, that is his thing. When Cameroon went to the semi-final in the last AFCON, everybody knows Rigobert Song didn't coach the team. It was he who coached the team. When Uganda went to the round of 16 for the first time, he took an unfancied Ugandan side and took them to the round of 16. His trump card has always been the detail, right? He totally neutralized Kelvin Kapumbu in the midfield there. And that's exactly what happened. So if you ask me, Zambia and Hervé Renard were outcoached today, and credit to them, but no credit to them for not taking their chances.
Well, no credit to them for not taking their chances. Well, that's it. We'll wait to see which of the teams are likely to advance from the group over there. At the moment, it looks like Morocco might just advance. We'll wait to see whether it's going to be DRC or Zambia or Tanzania, which of them might get the chance to play in the round of 16. But tomorrow is the big one. The Black Stars of Ghana. Jordan Ayew says they are not in Abidjan for a tour or a visit. They are there to do well. Well, earlier today, Chris Eaton did, face the press ahead of that game. He's been speaking about the team's readiness and also been given an update on Mohamed Kudus. And so let's hear from him. And after that, we'll hear from Jordan Ayew.
You know we're up against a very good, experienced team that, of course, are used to doing very well in this competition. You know, our responsibilities are, and I know we speak about looking forward, but our responsibilities are to assess in our last game where we should have done better, the areas that we should have done better, and to make sure that we can improve going into the next game. Our level has to be higher. We are playing on paper, a very good side, a better team. So we know that our levels have got to be better. But I think the biggest motivation for the players is that we are here. We didn't get the result we needed in the first game. This is the motivation we need for the second game. We want to do well in this competition. This is the motivation that we need for this game. We are up against a big team, a successful team in Egypt. This is the motivation. And probably more than anything is we are aware of expectations. We have a wonderful support behind us and always do. And there isn't one player in the squad, and Jordan's here, having played in AFCONs before and represented Ghana for so many years. There isn't one player in this squad that isn't aware of what this game means, and they're the biggest motivations that we can give to the players. So just an update on Mohamed Kudus is, as most are aware, he joined camp later than anybody else because of an injury that he sustained in his last game for West Ham. We will continue to assess him. We have today and tomorrow morning to assess. He has trained the last few days, but we will assess him, as I say, today and tomorrow, and make a decision tomorrow.
The most important thing for us is to come back, stay focused, be as a team, and show different qualities that we have, and be more aggressive in every department, and we'll be fine. I have total belief in the boys, the staff, who are working really hard, and I know that tomorrow will be a really good day for us and for Ghana, so I'm really confident, and yeah. Everyone that plays football, this is bread and butter, and everyone gives his 100%. Sometimes things go your way, sometimes things don't go your way. But I think we need to do more, that's for sure, and we are ready to do more, and we are going to do more, so nobody should worry about that. And tomorrow is a big day, and we know that it's a big day, and we know how much it means to Ghanaians. And for we ourselves personally, we want to perform. We want to perform this tournament. We didn't just come here just to visit Abidjan. We came here to perform well. So we'll see tomorrow, and we're ready. And you cannot, I wouldn't agree when you people say people lack commitment, or no one lacks commitment. Everyone is fully committed. It's just that sometimes things go your way, things don't go your way, but you need to force things. And tomorrow we're going to force things, and we'll see after that.
Yeah, so that's Jordan Ayew and the Black Stars head coach Chris Eaton over there speaking ahead of that game against Egypt. We are all waiting to see how the Black Stars will fare after that massive disappointment on Sunday. Now, this is how the head-to-head is looking like. Just interesting. If you look at it closely, and this is where guys will come in. So 8 games played, 2 wins for Ghana, 4 for Egypt. The draws just 2. But then the goals, 13-10. And my producer and I were discussing. I said, Chairman, if the World Cup qualifier,
Yeah,
6-1.
Thanks to Kumasi.
Yeah, thanks to Kumasi.
Thanks to Kumasi.
I mean, guys, this is a big game. We'll come to you, Daniel, for details of the stuff you have for us on the touch screen. But, I mean, Gary, the history is not on our side.
Historically, Ghana-Egypt is AFCON royalty, right? It's the best of the best, you know, forefathers and forefathers. So we have so much history between us. The thing that actually worries me about these stats is not there, is the fact that Egypt haven't lost a group game in 20 attempts. I need to repeat that. In 20 group games, they have not lost. They are your proper tournament team. Now, in terms of institutional memory, they have it in the players, because in those 20 games, you can find at least 10 of them in this squad. They've been there from that time. In that time, they've made a final, you know, in 2019, we know how far they went as well. The thing for me is that, do we have the quality to match them? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I need Ghanaians to understand that even the starting 11 against Cape Verde can match this Egypt team boot for boot.
Okay.
Do we have the coaching capacity to deploy these players? That is my worry. You see, if they are coached well, and I deliberately spoke about the Sabre before we came in, because the coaching has mattered in this tournament. If you look at even Zambia, Avram Grant was out-coached today. However, in terms of specific instructions to players, you could see the coaching at play. DRC tried about 3 different formations in the game. At every point, Zambia tried to counter it. Are we going to see that? Egypt under Rui Vitória. Rui Vitória is a former Benfica coach. I mean, he's a very solid guy. That's all I want to say. He's not going to start a game, and he plays the game in phases. So what I expect Ghanaians to expect is every 10 to 15 minutes, something will change in the way the Egyptians play. There'll be some fluidity. We know about their front 3 and stuff. Danny is going to go through that as well. And that, for me, is it. Jordan is speaking like a captain. That's the other thing I want to pick from the interactions with Jordan. Jordan, a few years ago, he was very reticent. He did not even want to come and talk at press conferences. If you recall. He did not, it seemed like you were bothering him. Now, from what we are hearing, he actually wants to come and speak there. And he's speaking like you threw a question at him. For those who have not been on social media, I'm sure you might not have heard. Apparently, a Nigerian journalist asked him, in the event that the Black Stars go out tomorrow, will he consider the Black Stars generation as being failed? And he told the journalist that we have not gone out. Why are you asking me this question? If we go, he said when. I think it's the English that failed him.
Okay.
That if we go out, then you ask me this question. Don't ask me this question now.
When we reach there, we'll cross it. Moving now.
You know, so that's it for me.
Yeah, interesting. Sicho, let me just get your thoughts quickly on the head-to-head. But even before that, though, Mohamed Kudus is one player, and we heard Chris Eaton speak about him, that, you know, they're still assessing him to see if he will be ready for, the game against Egypt. But then, already, this is the matchup. Mohamed, the only difference is Kudus and Salah. Sicho.
Listen, when you watch these numbers, I'm going to say something that all of you are going to say, wow. I'm going to say, on these numbers, if we put them into context, Mohamed Kudus is doing way better than Mohamed Salah.
Of course.
And the reason simply is Salah plays in a Liverpool team that has incredible talent. It's a very attacking team, so you're expecting him to get the numbers he's getting. When you watch West Ham and the way they play, they are very far away from the target, so they need to cover a lot of grass to get to target. And still, Mohamed Kudus produces 13 goals, assisting twice, for a team that doesn't have a typical striker. Mohamed Salah has got a lot of bodies to feed. He's got Jota, we know his scoring record. We know Diaz can score goals. Gakpo can score goals. Nunes can chip in the goals, and many others. So I just think that based on these numbers, these are incredible numbers for Mohamed Kudus. But the question then is, how fit is he? Because he's one player that I think that based on his game model, if he's not playing at 90%, he can't be effective because he plays with a lot of strength and power and pace. And if you're struggling with a hamstring injury, every movement you're making with intensity gives you discomfort. So if it's Thomas Partey and he's managing a hamstring injury, with the way he plays, doesn't necessarily break any stride, I can say if he's 70%, 60% fit, he can do a job. But for a player who relies very much on his power, pace, and strength, if he's not 80 to 90% fit, I can't trust that he can necessarily be impactful in the game. So that would be the only other worry for me about Kudus. But the numbers he's showing this season at West Ham are just incredible numbers. I'll be stunned if he stays there for more than 2 seasons.
Well, we have to go to the touchscreen analysis now and see what Daniel has got for us ahead of that game. But before Daniel shares that with us, some Ghanaians have been praying. They've been wondering the exact prayers they've been offering to God ahead of the game. Here it is.
A section of Ghanaian supporters in the Cote this morning have gathered praying for the Black Stars. In fact, they really prayed for a player like Kudus Wame, Fireman Kudus, a bit of Buam, and what's me against Egypt on Thursday. Look at them. They are on third base praying for the Black Stars of Ghana. This is the last score reported live from Freewood Hotel, La Côte d'Ivoire.
So, Pabona de ball, but ball in the home. Understand? The ball is on the ground. The job is on the ground. Daniel, what is on the? Oh my goodness, what have you got? What have you got to share with us?
So I'm done with the scouting report.
Okay.
And I've sent it to Chris Hutton.
Okay. Okay.
And hopefully he listens.
You sent the Cape Verde report. So
Yeah, he didn't listen.
And you spoke about the number of crosses that we needed to put into the box.
Yeah.
Few times that we tried that it worked, but he didn't implement it.
Just 12 overall in a 90-minute game. Quite disappointing. But I'm done with the Egypt one. It's no hard feelings. I've done my job and I've sent it to the coach.
You are doing your job.
I'm doing my job. It's as simple as that. So let's look at our opposition, who we are going to face. And I want us to focus on their star player. Because what we've seen Egypt do over the years is to play a system that will allow Mohamed Salah to thrive. And Mohamed Salah, we know over the years, has his profile, not necessarily his profile, but his output and how he's used has changed over time. So he started out as an out-and-out winger. Over time, he came inside, was just a pure goal scorer. In the past 2-3 seasons, he's now become a very good creative player, a provider as well as a scorer. So what Egypt have done this time is, in as much as on paper we see it as a 4-3-3, with Salah playing on the right-hand side, Salah is not operating on the wings. So let's just look at his pass map for the game against, this was a game against Mozambique. Okay, let's go here. Great. So the number 10 is Salah. This is basically his average position in the game against Mozambique. And what we see, this is a pass map and an average position chart. So on paper, you see the number 25, who is Zizou, play around these areas.
Okay.
But when they have possession of the ball, Zizou moves on to the right wing. He offers the width, allowing Salah to play in sort of a number 10 or a half-9 role. So on the ball, when Egypt have possession, they almost have like 4 attackers. And for me, in as much as that is a plus, it's also a minus, because then it reduces the number of players they have in the middle areas, which can be dangerous. And I'll take you to a video that shows how we can punish them when they do that. So, and if you know the Egypt head coach, he sticks to his principles. This is how they've played throughout the qualifiers. This is how they played against Mozambique. You don't expect him to change it against Ghana, especially when it works most of the time. So Zizou, who is an attacking midfielder, if he's asked to play in his favorite position, because of how Salah has evolved over time, they will be operating in the same zone. So he's allowed Zizou on the ball, when Egypt have the ball, to move on to the right-hand side to offer that width, and then Salah tucks in a bit closer to Mustafa Mohamed. So this is basically the average positioning of Egypt against Mozambique. And because they had possession of the ball, look at how high the line is. They are almost at the center line. And this is Abdul Mumin and Hegazi, two center-backs who lack pace. So then again, that is something I'll go to when I'm talking about the Black Stars and how we can hurt them. The two central midfielders in Mohamed El Neni and then Fati also lack pace. They don't have that progressive ability. So a lot of Egypt's creativity comes within the front four. And then you see the numerous combinations between the front four. This is Trezeguet, this is Mustafa Mohamed, this is Salah. And if you look at Mohamed Salah, look at the number of lines that are going from and to him to show you how involved he is with their creative process. So almost everything passes through Salah and ends with Salah. And that is a team that has identified their best player and tries to play through him and get the best possible result. But I want us to take notice of this guy, Zizou, and the position that he occupies. When Egypt don't have the ball, he retreats back into midfield on the left-hand side. El Neni sits in the middle, Fati on the right, and it becomes a 4-3-3. But they're very narrow side. Another thing that I want us to all have in mind. They are very narrow side because in the 4-3-3, Salah and Trezeguet are not hugging the line. They are keeping it very compact. And if anything, you look at the guys out wide. This is the left back in Hamdi. This is the right back in Hani. These are the guys who provide the width. But then again, when they have the ball, because of the lack of pace of these four, Hegazi, Abdul Mumin, Fati, and then El Neni, their ability or inability to close down space is very glaring. That's when they are on the ball. So what we saw Mozambique do, especially in the second half of that game, was to allow Egypt to have the ball and lure them into the mid zone. Now, what is that doing? When you're allowing them to easily bypass your first press, or if you're not pressing at all, you get the two slow center backs further away from their pool. So you see how high they are. And then when they get into the middle zone, you become very aggressive, especially with the second balls. Because once you win it, and if you have pacey forwards, the counter is there to be taken. So I'll show you a typical example on the Mozambique second goal. It was, So we start off from, let me just try and slow the pace so we can all, if I go 0.5, is that slow?
That's slower.
That's slower.
Yeah.
Okay. So we see Hegazi go for a long ball here. Now, in fact, let me pause it and then just look at the shape. So this is Egypt with the ball.
Yeah.
You see Hegazi, the center back, with the ball. That's Hegazi.
Yeah.
Now look at the shape. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. This is Hani, the left back. This is Zizou, who was gone from his midfield zone onto the right-hand side. This is Mohamed Salah, and then this is Trezeguet. This is Salah, in the midfield zone. But Salah is moving into, so it's almost becoming a front five.
Yeah.
Now, let me continue this and then pause it here. And look at how aggressive Mozambique are going to be on when it comes to the second ball. So this ball is directed to Mustafa Mohamed. He's trying to flick it on to Salah. And if it works, it's danger. Because if it works, they are outnumbering Mozambique in their own defensive zone. But that's where Mozambique's plan worked, being extremely aggressive on the second ball. So we progress play. The flick is on. He just slightly mistimes it. And all of a sudden, Egypt are in trouble. Now, let's look at the central areas of the pitch. Let me progress it a bit so we can see. Here, if you look at the central areas of the pitch, this is the last midfielder in a central area. And this is the first center back in a central area. So what we are seeing is 1, 2, 3, 4. This entire space is there for Mozambique to exploit. And that is because of Egypt's shape. And remember I mentioned the age and the lack of pace of Egypt's two central midfielders and their center backs. So they can't close down space as quickly as they would have been able to do a couple of years ago. So we progress the play, and we are going to see how slow Hegazi and Abdul Mumin are. Now this pass comes in, and this move right here is brilliant from
Mozambique.
My gentleman over here. to play that back pass, he's further opening the space between the lines to allow the man on the ball to be able to pick a pass. Now, what he does, he doesn't just open it, he also allows himself to go free of Abdul Mumin. And now Abdul Mumin doesn't know if to track back here, and close the space he's left behind. Or mark him.
Yeah.
So that is a very smart 1-2 move. So you might see, why did he pass the ball back? But all these things, it is the teeny-weeny, tiny details of attacking football. So he passes it back. Now his teammate has an opportunity to hit a pass. And because they know that Egypt, one, are very high, this is an extremely high line for Egypt, considering the lack of pace of their centre-backs. He placed it right into space. And look at how difficult it is for Hegazi. Close your eyes and then suddenly open it. Watch how Hegazi is running. He looks like Maguire. Seriously speaking. Let me just progress it. And look at how he this is typical Harry Maguire. But the lack of pace is clear. And then Mozambique breakthrough.
And the turning is not great.
And the turning also is not great. And Mozambique breakthrough, and then they score. So this is so evident. This shows you how much this shape can work for and against them.
Yeah.
And in saying this, we go to my sweet Black Stars. This is our past map for the game against Cape Verde. And I just want to touch on the fact that, remember that Egypt had 4 attackers when they had the ball, 4 guys in the offensive zone, with Salah adding to the number to make it 5. If we go a back 4, we are dead.
They'll finish us.
Because, and this is the reason why I'm saying this, the Black Stars individually, when it comes to our players' individual defensive ability, especially on the wide areas, they can't handle the technical quality of the Egyptians. Trezeguet wants to have that isolated one-on-one with his defender. That is what he likes. We know Gideon Mensah is not the best when it comes to one-on-one defending. He needs help. So if you are going to isolate, and that's what Egypt are going to do, if they have 1, 2, 3, 4 guys over there isolating our defenders, we're almost in trouble. And for me, that's why I think we should play a back 3. But then again, all this talk, you have to apply it.
Yeah.
And in applying it, you need forward players who are willing to press, win the ball, be aggressive, and then hopefully score. But this is the first time in my life, and I seriously need to touch on that I've seen a pass map that doesn't have any line linking any of the front 4. Look at this carefully. Yeah. This pass here, this line linking, it looks like it's linking Königsdörfer to Semenyo. No. This was Baba, and I hope you can see it on the TV. Yeah. This was Semenyo to Baba and Baba to Semenyo. Now, a pass is basically me passing to you and you passing back to me at least once in the game. There were times when Semenyo gave the ball, Pencil gave the ball to Semenyo. You get it? There were times when I think it was Königsdörfer who gave. But if that thing doesn't return, or if I give it to you twice and you never give it to me back, it doesn't register as one. So there was no passing combinations at any point in the game against Cape Verde. This is the first time I'm seeing this in my life. Between our front 4. And that is telling. Look at how thin our front men are involved in terms of pass combinations. It's all here.
Yeah.
And that, aside Jordan Ayew, who has a thick partnership with Gideon Mensah, and maybe you can consider the Ashimeru one, which is 7 times. Ayew passed to him 5 times. Ashimeru passed to Ayew twice. It's not the best.
So what you are telling us, that based on this, the Black Stars are more comfortable passing themselves in the back.
In the back.
And in the midfield among themselves than going forward. Which fits squarely into the Chris Hughton is a defensive-minded coach.
Thank you very much.
Thing.
Thank you very much. And another very telling thing also is, and I always say that numbers will always give you context. When we pick on certain players, this is a structure exposing our players. It's not bringing the best out of them. Yeah. So if you change under this structure, if you put Bukari here, he's going to be as toothless as Pencil was. If you bring Iñaki here, he's going to be as toothless. Because the structure, first of all, they are so isolated. Look at the gap between them. Yeah. And if you look at Egypt's pass map, which is, look at the distance between Salah and Look at the distance between Mustafa Mohamed and then Fati. They are close. So there's always a link, and it's easy to find a man when you pick up the ball. But for our setup, our attackers are too isolated, and it's not helping. So we had what? It was on Sunday. The game was on Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, at least. Yeah, today's the last training session. I'm hoping against hope that Chris Hughton has done something to rectify that issue. Because look, you can scout all you want. You can tell where the problem is. If the application is not there, we are dead.
You know, the tactics is interesting, but of course the big question on the minds of a lot of people is which players are therefore ideal for the game against Egypt tomorrow?
Well, I feel very sorry for Chris Hughton, really, because when you play your first game in a competition and it ends in the way Ghana ended against Cape Verde, if it's not a settled team like Ghana's, there's the temptation to overhaul it. And the risk with that is you are not too sure if that new team you're going to play in that second game is going to gel or is going to have the understanding and cohesion that you expect. So no one person can pick a team that plays against Egypt. I think it all has to go down to what he had seen in training or what feedback he had from the Egypt-Mozambique or over scouting Egypt for a period of time and decide that what players will do the job. But based on what I have seen and based on the Egyptian team that I've learned from, and Danny has made very salient points on the Egyptian team. I've always said even against Cape Verde, it doesn't matter who we play against. Our surest solid combination at the back should be a 3. None of the two partner well. Jiku individually was great, but he was a terrible partner to Salisu, as Salisu was a terrible partner to him. So if you look at Jiku in himself, you're like, wow. But when you look at the job he was doing around Salisu, it was poor. And Salisu doing around Jiku as well. And the same thing when you see Amata play against Jiku, when you see Amata play around Jiku, or vice versa. We just don't have the perfect combination for any of those centre-backs that we've got. I've always gone with a 3, especially when you play against an Egyptian side that have shown that they will not necessarily use their forward players in those wide areas. However, they will come into the half space. It could very much be in central areas in the box, 3v3. Then you leave the fullbacks to deal with the other fullbacks or the wing backs to deal with the fullbacks that are going to come onto you. But the problem I've got with all of this is the synchronization of our play. And then it makes an interesting point. When you put up that heat map, when you look at the Ghanaian team, the problem that we've got with our system or our shape is there is an incredibly vast space between our players. And the reason why teams play very close to each other is simple. When you win the ball, there's an option. And when you lose the ball, there's presence to quickly win the ball off it. But when you watch the Black Stars, when we lose the ball, we can't win it back quickly. That is largely because when we've lost the ball, it is only one person who is in that scene or who's on that scene. And when we win the ball, some way, somehow, it's only one person on the scene. So that person has to then drive. And we saw Pencil do it. Many people thought it was a great skill getting past people. I thought it was poor. Because when he got the ball, he was so alone that he didn't have a choice than to go on his own. And so when you look at the map that Danny puts there, you see it, that Pencil has nobody around him. Look at the space between Pencil and the other front 3. The space between Jordan and the middle 2 and Konesdorfer and Samenyo. It's terrible. Now, the one time in that first half that anybody made any run for Pencil was when Samenyo pulled around this man, got into the channel, Pencil fed him, puts in a cross off the goalkeeper and onto Konesdorfer. Ashimiro scores. Unfortunately for us, it's an offside. What I'm saying here is, in modern day football, if your players are going to be so far apart, every single team is going to pin you around. And that was a big second goal that he speaks about. The only reason why there's a third pass to give the final passer a full glare of that Egyptian back line is that he was so close to his man. So as soon as his man gets the ball, he's there. Otherwise, if there's nobody close to him, he takes a touch or two. Hegazi and Egypt regroup. But because there's somebody close, a quick pass into him, straight away, a ball down the channel, Hegazi can't run. It's actually, I don't think it's a lazy defending there to go down so easily. So that is the problem we've got with the Blacks that needs sorting out. It doesn't matter the system, it doesn't matter the personnel, if the team is that stretched and exposed. And I didn't say it, the players have said it, that it was so easy for the opponent to play between the lines. What does that mean? If you're playing between something, it's the space between it that you go through. If it was so easy for people to go through those spaces, listen, I'm not the one saying the space was big.
And that's the last thing I want to say, and we've been noting it. Guys, if you've been listening to the Black Stars players from Sunday, all of them have been talking to Chris Hughton through the interviews. All of them. it's like they're talking to you. They've actually been talking to the coach. Jordan Ayew, even Richard Ofori.
Dennis Odoi.
Yeah. Dennis Odoi.
Yeah.
Dennis Odoi was angry. He talked about aggression. And Dennis Odoi probably, when I listened to him again, it sounded like he knew that he shouldn't have started the game. Mm-hmm. It sounded like he knew he shouldn't have started the game. Jiku also talked about aggression and that they have to do more. Jordan spoke about aggression. Yeah. That means that the coach is shackling them. Because look at the age profile of our players. They can all run. If you unleash them, you see the number of times Joseph Pentil was pressing alone at the front there. Imagine 2 or 3 players were doing that, and then there was a second phase behind him. So, I don't know.
That's a very good point. That's the second phase.
There's no second phase in our play.
When one person presses and the ball gets past the person's done a very useless job.
So after that, then you see a big hole between the center line and then the defensive line. And that is where the opponent always uses.
Well, it's a big game tomorrow. It's a really big game tomorrow. And we can only be hopeful because we're all Ghanaians. We're hoping that something can happen. But it's not the only game happening tomorrow. Of course, there's going to be the second round of fixtures also in Group A. That's a big game between Ivory Coast and their counterpart Cameroon. It's a very big game.
Nigeria.
Nigeria, beg your pardon. Nigeria, big game. So let's just take a look at the fixtures coming. So Equatorial Guinea playing Guinea-Bissau. Equatorial Guinea, getting a draw over Nigeria, and Guinea-Bissau, of course, losing to Cote d'Ivoire. So wait to see what happens there. But then Cote d'Ivoire versus Nigeria is going to be an interesting game. Big game. We actually have 2 big games tomorrow.
Probably, in terms of, it's probably going to be a better game than Egypt-Ghana. Probably. It's going to be a better game than Egypt.
Yeah, he has the potential.
To be.
Yeah, he has the potential.
Because Cote d'Ivoire are not going to sit back.
But I had problems with Cote d'Ivoire in the way they played in their first game. They got the 2 goals. They looked good. But I still think that what holds Cote d'Ivoire is that midfield, not their defense. I still think defensively they've got problems because it was very easy for opponents to get through them. They just didn't take their chances. Goalkeeper had to make saves. Now, if Nigeria is going to go through you like that, you're in trouble. However, Nigeria as well have got an issue in midfield because they are more impressive midfielder got injured. I'm not sure he's fit for the fixture. So, yeah, I still think Cote d'Ivoire will win. But if Nigeria...
You think they'll win?
Yeah. Oh. If Nigeria get those chances, I think Nigeria will still go through. I think they'll win their last game in the group and perhaps qualify. But if Nigeria do get those chances and they get an early goal, it could unsettle Cote d'Ivoire, and the fans will be very uncomfortable, and who knows how they handle the pressure.
Gary, I'll come to you for your prediction. But Daniel, I mean, what's...
No, don't.
I'll come to you for your thoughts. Just a little preview on that. Daniel, I mean, what are you expecting ahead of those games? Ivory Coast, Nigeria. For the Nigerians who are watching us, of course, Charlie, already I should say they bite your hand or something like that. Charlie, big game.
Look, Nigeria are not in a good place. And I'm afraid, I've not necessarily seen their pre-match preparations, but if the Yusuf boy is not past fit, that could be a problem because he provided something that we didn't know they have. That box-to-box, that energy, intensity in midfield. Then he got injured, and the game just went flat from the time he got injured. If he's not going to be fit, then it leaves a gaping hole in their midfield because whoever is coming to replace, we've seen the options on the bench, can't match that energy that he's bringing in. And that is against an Ivory Coast midfield that, for the first time since Yaya Touré's time, looked very complete with Seko Fofana, Sangare, and then Frank Kessié. So it's going to be extremely difficult. I think this game will be won and lost in the midfield. And from what we've seen the Ivorians do in the first game, what we've seen the Nigerians do in the first game, I think Cote d'Ivoire have the slight edge. Also, the Ivorian coach also has a very major decision to make because personally, I would allow Crasso to start the game. I will keep Ale on the bench. I think he offers a bit more mobility. And because of how unsettled Nigeria's midfield is, there'll be much more pressure on their centre-backs to do the ball progression. So if you have a forward in there who is giving them that pressure, pressing them down, it's going to break up Nigeria's build-up from the front. And as we said, if the Ivorians slack and they give those chances to Osimhen, I promise he's not going to miss them again. And you don't want to afford him those opportunities. Let him feed on scraps like what Ghana did to him in the World Cup qualification game. So I feel Cote d'Ivoire will win this. I think all things being equal, they'll win it and win it quite comfortably. But of course, a big game in Africa is a big game in Africa, and we all look forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, Gary, just
finally, I think the Equatorial Guinea game will also be interesting because they'll be looking for the win so that they can,
Yeah.
because 3 points for them basically gets them into the next
Yeah.
round.
Yeah.
That's 6 points.
What?
That'll be 6 points.
That'll be 6 points, yes. Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria. I also go with Cote d'Ivoire. And then Ghana, Egypt. I'm very, very unsure.
Okay, very unsure. Well,
Unfortunately, all the stats, Opta, the website is using major. They are going for Egypt, and by quite some margin too.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, we did ask some of you what you were hoping will improve in the Black Stars game on Twitter earlier today. Let's see if you have just a few of those comments to share with you before we wrap up on AFCON tonight, today, over there. Well, we will definitely get some of it in the course of the day tomorrow, maybe on AFCON today. But guys, thanks. Daniel, thanks so much for the insightful analysis, Sicho. We hope to see what Black Stars will do. We'll be here. That'll be the interesting part, isn't it?
Tomorrow by this time.
It's probably going to be very good to come here or difficult to come here.
Yeah, anyway, well, interesting. The Malians did have some very, very exciting jama when they won against South Africa. Not sure what's happened to South Africa, so we're going to leave you with that while we look for
Ghanaians.
Ghanaian supporters, rather. Yeah, $400. Charlie, it's good to be here. Charlie, Daniel, $400. Charlie?
We should rehearse and go to Cote d'Ivoire and collect some of them.
Nobody says, Charlie, if it is clapping your hands and singing for $400.
But you think clapping is an easy?
Yeah.
You think clapping?
Maybe Charlie clapping, you can put
We
hands
all
on, then
Jama SS.
$400.
Really free.
And you know what was interesting was when the money came, Charlie,
Yeah.
the jama changed.
The Jama changed, yeah. The moral
Jama
level changed.
Charlie,
Yeah.
well, interesting stuff. Yeah, so, I mean, that's it, guys. Thanks so much, Gary. Thanks so much. And Sicho,
Love that.
tomorrow we'll see what Charlie, J-Hi-Fi. Yeah, man, guys, thanks so much for being part of the show. We're going to be back same time, 10 p.m. And we're going to be on till the end of the AFCON, so do enjoy yourself. Coming up is Hot Picks and your man, Turn Up. It's coming up pretty shortly.
Perfectly balanced for a smooth, refreshing taste. New Guinness Smooth. Perfectly balanced for a smooth, refreshing taste. New Guinness Smooth. Perfectly balanced for a smooth, refreshing taste. New Guinness Smooth.